Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of CleanTechies, the podcast. I'm super excited to be able to bring this episode to you guys today. On today's episode, I interviewed Lynn Mueller, President and CEO of Sharc International Systems. Basically, what Sharc Energy or Sharc International Systems do is they capture the heat from the water that's going down the drain, and they can then return it to heat new water that you're going to use then. So it's a very interesting tech because of the money that they save buildings and municipalities that they can essentially generate a lot less electricity because they're just using the energy that's existing. So it's very interesting technology in itself. Lynn was an absolute pleasure to have on the podcast. Really inspiring guy, to be honest. Just got done shooting it, and I had goosebumps, talking to Lynn. It was really great. So I really appreciate you guys listening to this. I hope you will enjoy this, especially the younger generation. Lynn, really look up to him after this show, and I hope you enjoy today's episode. And as always, this episode is made possible by NextWave Partners. Yeah, awesome. Thanks for coming on the podcast today, Lynn. If you want to just give us a quick background on yourself and how you ended up in Sharc Energy, we would really like to hear your background and your story.
Great, thanks, Silas. And yeah, pretty simple story. You're from northern Wisconsin, so you can appreciate cold weather. And I
Yes.
grew up in the foothills of the Rocky Mountains on a farm in Alberta. And I always think of myself as a farmer first. And then I became a refrigeration mechanic, and then got into the green energy business in heat pumps. So I made a living the last 40 years or so with companies. I was president and CEO of a company called Water Furnace, been in the heat pump business, and I had been leaning towards retiring. So I spent a few days at home, and my wife decided that wasn't such a good idea, that I should find something to do or a new place to live. So I knew my way home, so I didn't want to leave there. So then I'd been thinking for some time, Silas, that so much energy goes down the drain every day. And I have 4 kids, and at the time 3 daughters were at home, and I could see every year in my house I threw away about $1,200 worth of hot water. And I knew that because I heat my house with a heat pump, and my gas is all hot water. So I thought, looking around the neighborhood, I thought, if every house is throwing away $1,200 a year, where's all that going to, and why can't we get it back? And about the same time I started to think like that, the city of Vancouver had the 2010 Olympics, and they wanted the Olympics to be the greenest Olympics ever. So their Olympic Village was heated and cooled using the sewage water that was leaving downtown Vancouver. And so I became quite fascinated. First, I thought it was just a crazy idea. Mm-hmm. And then I became very fascinated how well it worked. And at the time, they were heating about 1.5 million square feet of space, the Olympic Village. Since then, we've become involved there, and we've grown that site now, where next year it will heat 20 million square feet of apartments from the wastewater leaving downtown Vancouver. So once you combine the efficiency of warm sewage water with a heat pump, it's really a great combination. Okay, well, yeah, so when I started to think about the energy and wastewater, everybody thinks I've just performed a bodily function into that water, and I'm so happy to get rid of it, I never want to see it again. So when you think that the solid content of sewage is only about 1%, and that's mostly paper, the biological product has long since been washed away, but there's just so much sewage flow. There's 938 trillion liters a year of sewage in the world. So that's roughly 200 trillion gallons of sewage that's been heated about 30 to 40 degrees Fahrenheit. So if you could imagine a body of energy that big, and nobody was using it, and it flows out into the ocean, and it melts ice, and all of the wrong things. So I thought, other than the obvious, sewage is just kind of the perfect energy source, and it's everywhere. Every city has a sewer system, And they're quite easy to deal with because there's only one sewage authority per city. So you can deal with like King County down the road here in Seattle has kind of a groundbreaking deal where people can access their sewer, take the energy out of it or put energy in it from air conditioning, but they have to pay a half a cent per kilowatt toll on it, basically. So the city of Seattle's taken what used to be just a tremendous cost to them to operate the sewer system, and now they have it generating revenue. And by recycling that heat, we save burning natural gas. So everything that we do with the Sharc system offsets the use of gas. And then in the summer, when you're air conditioning, you're putting the heat into the sewer line. So you're not using cooling towers and that sort of thing. So also saves a tremendous amount of water. So when you look, you're in Harlem in New York. So you look at New York every day, there's 1.4 billion gallons a day of sewage water pulsing through the city. So that's a lot of flow. You wouldn't want to stand in front of that train when it's coming at you. So there's 900,000 buildings or something in New York that have to be retrofitted to fit the new climate emergency bills. So, there's a great opportunity there. We're working with Con Edison in New York to introduce the technology in New York. So really applicable everywhere and really simple technology, Silas. So, I attend conferences all over the world all the time on renewable energy. And one thing that always sticks in my mind is how complicated some of these systems are. So you sort of have to have a shift in the way the world operates for a lot of these renewable energy things to work. Ours, we need two laws of physics to stay in effect: that energy can't be created or destroyed, which is the first law of physics. And the second law of physics is heat moves from warmer to colder. So as long as those two things stay in effect, our system will work. So very simple technology. And it doesn't convert anything to electricity. It's just a heating and cooling and hot water system.
Yeah, so this is very interesting. Obviously, I think it'd be keen to have you maybe give us an example of how it's implemented, right? It sounds like there's a few different options where it can be implemented citywide, right, to capture all of the heat. But it sounds like it could also be implemented on a more individual basis for each building. Is that correct?
That's right. So at Sharc, we have two products so far. The Sharc product, and Sharc is a pretty catchy little acronym, but it really stands for sewage heat recovery. We'd looked at various different names, and we had the Turdinator and a few things, and oddly enough, the Turdinator was already being used. So brown
That's
burger,
hilarious.
we had a few, but and then so the Sharc is designed to do larger systems. So a small Sharc would be about 1 megawatt per hour of energy.
Mhm.
So it's fairly expensive and big, and would do a large quantity of space, heating and cooling. So downtown Vancouver, for instance, we have 5 Sharc systems going in that'll serve 20 million square feet of buildings, heating and just heating and hot water. And then when I could see that the Sharc was maybe getting a little expensive to put in every building, I thought, well, I'm an inventor first and foremost. So I went back to the drawing board and invented what we've named a Piranha. And that's just a standalone heat pump for a single building. So it will provide the hot water for an apartment building. So anything about 20 units or above is perfect for the Piranha. We get phenomenal efficiencies of somewhere around 400%. So if you spend $1 to operate the Piranha, you get $4 worth of heat back in hot water form. So
Wow, this is crazy. This is the thing that just always excites me about this space, is because every time these innovations happen, week after week on the podcast here, people are creating things that there's really no downside, right? Even the cost to implement it is so low when you look at it on a long-term scale. So that's interesting. I guess, what does it look like to install on these? Because I'm assuming, I grew up with a dad who built houses, so I know a little bit about the process of building a house. And kind of the general idea of plumbing, and it's not a very easy system. So how exactly does this integrate? How tough is it to put these into a building? What goes into it? What kind of process are we looking at?
Well, it's not kind of snap your fingers and it's in, but on a new building, it's just part of the building process. Mechanical guys pump. So the theory of a piranha is that we recover all of the heat that's leaving the building in the hot water that's going down the drain. So what we have to do, Silas, is catch about half of the day's flow in a tank, because there's parts of the day when you just don't have any flow, like in the middle of the night and stuff. So we have a tank we bury somewhere. On a new build, it's usually right under the building. And then we just have the sewage flow through that, and it stores about half a day's energy. And then the piranha just fits in the mechanical room. I'm talking to you today from my dining room table, and it's about as big as your dining room table. That's that sort of size. So we have three different sizes, but basically we can make up to 7,000 gallons a day of completely heated hot water. So we're not just a preheat or some sort of passive heat system. We actually have a high efficient heat pump in there that heats the water right to 140 degrees. And we recently won the EPRI, the Electrical Power Research Institute Incubate Energy 2020. And we were able to work with them on a sponsored project where we were able to prove that the piranha is as efficient or more efficient than any heat pump system in the world for making hot water. And, air source is a bit of a rage now, but wintertime air source has some challenges with defrost and stuff. So we don't care what the temperature is outside. We just take that 80-degree Fahrenheit water leaving a building. We take the heat back out of it and heat the next batch of hot water. So the smallest building we've done to date is 40 apartments, and the largest is 1,050.
Got it. And then, so just to clarify there, it sounds like you said you're actually not taking the water itself that's being used. You're just taking the heat out of the water that's going out the building.
That's right. We just temporarily hold the water long enough to get the heat out of it. We don't affect the biological process. And when we first started, Silas, everybody said, oh, you're going to take that heat out. You're going to freeze the sewage plant. They're going to be getting ice cubes in the sewage plant. So, if I was that successful, I probably wouldn't be talking to you anymore. But, we just can't take that much heat out, and we're not going to do every building. So in Vancouver, when they built the Olympic Village site, they did a study on the downstream temperature after the plant. And there wasn't a piece of equipment, with a small enough scale to measure the temperature difference at the receiving end of the plant. And then they determined they could expand the plant there to 20 million square feet of heated space, plus another 700 high rises before they could even measure the temperature difference. So when you think of 600 million gallons a day in Vancouver, and you're just taking out, 10 megawatts, it's pretty insignificant. And then everybody says, if I put it in my building, am I going to smell it? Because, the connotation is, am I pumping sewer water through the building? Well, answer to both questions is no, it's completely sealed. So it's a pretty sophisticated piece of equipment. And then a few years back, maybe 5 or 6 years ago now, I won an award for innovation. And the prize was 2 years of use of an office in the Microsoft Innovation Hub at Prospect, Silicon Valley in California. So again, as I mentioned, I'm an old farmer, so I get in there with all these little zit-faced geniuses, and they were telling me about predictive analytics and how important data was. And I really had never been exposed to that before, but I immediately recognized that they were right. The hardware is not nearly as important now as the data flow. So an example of where that's useful is a system we did in Washington, D.C. on a 150,000 square foot DC water headquarters building has a Sharc system to provide all of the processed water for heating and cooling. So we assumed in the winter would be heating quite a bit and there'd be some savings from heating and stuff. Well, 3 years later, Silas, with our information we've been gathering every day, every second of the day, actually, the building's only required heat for 4 hours in 3 years. The rest of the time it's been running on internal loads from computers. And so we share all the energy in the building first. And it's been cooling for everything but 4 hours in 3 years. So I've developed a bit of a strategy now on information. I call it synthetic intelligence as opposed to predictive analytics, because predictive analytics is great if you want to know when to change the filters or when the compressor is going to fail or something, but you can't predict energy use. So my mission for the future is to be able to predict energy use and bend, as everything electrifies, we're going to need more and more electricity. So by managing the grid loads better, this synthetic intelligence is going to be a critical step for utilities to handle all the electric cars and all the heat pumps and air conditioners. And as the world warms up, we need obviously more air conditioning. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously that's the big challenge we face, right? Is the fact that there's not only an increase in electricity usage coming, at least a lot of people. I've talked to some people who don't think electricity will continue to rise, given the efficiency measures being put in place. But obviously, there's a lot of third world countries that are getting to that point. But wanted to ask a little bit about for example, a small municipality or even a larger one that wants to implement something like this. What is generally the return on investment look like, the time horizon? Because obviously, as you and I both know, a lot of times taxpayers will complain that these kind of upgrades or these things that they do, they're going to cost them, right? I'm just curious to hear the benefits there, because I'm assuming it's all positive.
Yeah, and the payback sort of varies, but when a municipality does it, they look at it, Silas, as more of an investment in infrastructure. So you're building a road or you're building a sewage treatment plant. That's a different budget than just normal return on investment. So City of Vancouver charges everybody in that Olympic Village district a utility bill every month. So they, the return for them was pretty instant. It gave them cash flow and they were going to have to invest money in something. So it gives them a utility they can operate. So, if it was just, Silas was buying a Sharc unit and he wanted a return on investment, it's probably somewhere 5-7 years without factoring in the carbon savings. So if you look at downtown Vancouver, for instance, the sewage heat recovery system is their largest source of carbon savings for the city. It's about 350,000 tons a year of CO2 emission offsets. So those right now, Silas, in Vancouver are worth about $50 a ton. And they're predicted to be $150 a ton by 2025. So just the carbon savings are enormous. And a Piranha unit in your building, for instance, if you had 100-unit building and 2 people per suite, that equates to about 100 tons a year, which takes about 50 cars off the road, gas-powered cars. So, it's a win-win no matter what you do. And the thing maybe I like most about the Sharc and Piranha systems is you're using the same energy every day. As hard as it is to believe, if you're in an apartment building, you shower, you do your laundry, and warm water goes down to the tank. We take the warm water back out of the tank, the heat out of it, and we sell you the same energy the next day, the very same energy. So it's just this perpetual cycle of high efficiency moving the energy.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I think it's so powerful. I mean, again, the things that are being done here, I really appreciate what you guys are doing. I'm curious, I guess maybe this is you've already talked about a little bit some of the challenges or the objections, but I'm curious, what have been the biggest challenges either as a company in growing this technology and building everything, or maybe specifically if there's been a lot of objections, what have those been?
Yeah, it's a strange business because comparing it to when I was in the geothermal heat pump business, for instance, I would go out to sell you a geothermal heat pump, but I had to explain, how the hole in the ground works and how much heat I can get per square foot, and how long it's going to last, and the refrigeration cycle. This one, I go to sell people, and they go, "Yeah, I always thought there's a lot of heat going down there." And it's amazing the acceptance on the idea. But a lot of people didn't want to be the first. They don't want to be the first tried technology. So 11 years in now, we're sort of overnight successes. But we also, I didn't know how the hell to make it work when I started. Like I was learning with everybody else. So the current equipment doesn't look anything like the first one. And, it won't change much now because we got it working so well. So if you could imagine, we got one plant coming with 40,000 gallons a minute of flow of sewage, and we've got to filter that. That's a massive undertaking. So, we can do that now. So I would say, as of today, just growing is our biggest problem. So we got through the stage of growth, and some wise men told me years ago that it takes about 10 years to build a business, and I thought they were full of crap and I could do it in 2 or 3 years, and here it is 10 years later and we finally have a really good business. So there is a cycle, and unfortunately every new product has it. Tesla took 10 years to get going, and SpaceX, and we're no different than anybody else, except everything we do is green. On a personal note, Silas, I have 3 little granddaughters, and I was so fortunate to grow up out in the Rockies there, and I would go for a walk in the mountains and see moose and bears and one thing and another. And I want to make sure that my kids have an opportunity to see how beautiful this world is. And I travel all over the world. I'm really fortunate before COVID, obviously, but this world is so amazing. It's worth saving, and that's my mission. I'm 66 years old, so I don't really go into work anymore for myself, but I love going in. I love the energy of our people. We have a predominantly young staff, and when I started the company, I wanted to build a sustainable company that was different. I worked for some big companies briefly over my lifetime, and the motto at a big company is it's like working there is like smoking a joint. The harder you suck, the higher you get. So I wanted to build a company that respected its people. We have a great, we're a public company, so we have a good stock program. Everybody in the company has access to every job they're capable of doing. We want them to work there for their entire lives and help them retire, help them buy houses. Like, people to me are more important than anything. And we want to respect people. We have a very strong program of inclusion and empowering our female employees to be on, same footing as everybody else. So when I had the opportunity to start this company, I thought, I'm going to do it as good as I can this time.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. This is something, obviously I appreciate your kind of the personal aspect you put on this, but it's not just anybody, everybody's in this boat, right? The whole reason why we have this green movement going on is because we want to save the world for our future, for the future generation. So I think that's great. And I also think it's, very commendable that I've seen a lot of companies doing this, that in this space, we also want to make sure we're already forward thinking. So why not be forward thinking and helping, again, empower other people, the underserved, or the people who've had a harder time, getting into, leadership roles within companies. So I think that it is our job in the clean tech sector to help do that as well. One thing I wanted to also go on and ask you a little bit more about is, obviously, the climate crisis is something that's, we've already quite exceeded the 2 degrees centigrade that we're, looking to prevent. But in terms of what you guys are doing, it's obviously a significant amount of greenhouse gases you can reduce from going into the air. So how are you able to scale now? Now that you figured out the technology, what does the future look like in terms of scaling the business? Are you going to license the technology out, or is it the company that's going to continue to grow? How are you planning to do this to try to make the most impact in the fastest time possible?
Yeah, those are great questions, Silas, and rapidly being answered every day. So I think the future of Sharc and the technology is that you're going to see it in every city. That it is going to be, Silas, in every city in this world, not just in Canada. It's because that's just this incredible resource that's been thrown away. And I didn't think of the technology. I invented our system, but the technology has been used for a number of years. And the first one I went to look at was in China. They were doing a 1.5 million square foot building. So their equipment was really not very good. So I was going to originally buy that equipment and try to use it, but it was crap. So I thought I could build my own better. So that's what happened. But what you will see is it's a recognized resource now. So there's $1 trillion a year worth of hot water put down the drains of the world. So if we just get back, 10% of that, it's still $100 billion worth of energy. So, why throw it away? And one building like the DC Water's headquarters building that's doing all that air conditioning uses so much fresh water. It's disgusting. So we've been able to save them about 3 million gallons a year of fresh water. So if you're somebody in in El Paso or over in Africa where you got no rain, that water to you is not only critically important, it's your life. You can't grow food, you can't. So we not only save energy, reduce carbon, but to me the water is the biggest thing. And it's a local energy supply. So nobody can cut off your pipeline to your energy supply. There's no disruptions. And you'd be surprised how predictable the flow is. So to me, the future is every city in the world is going to go to district energy, and sewage is going to make up part of it. It may not be all of it, but that's going to be contributing where it makes sense. But we have just unprecedented growth happening now with Sharc. And recently, I was able to have an hour conversation with Congresswoman Marcy Kaptur from the Great Lakes area. They're I think she's from Toledo. And, she's the undersecretary for the energy appropriations bill coming up. So we're going to be part of the future. Whether I'm here or somebody else is, the technology now can stand on its own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good segue. I was quite interested to hear about this because this is, to me, the government's part in regulation and permitting process for these new technologies is obviously oftentimes undefined. So I'm curious, what has been the experience with trying to build these, especially on a municipal level or on a citywide level? What have been some of the issues with regulation, if any, or permitting? How does that look?
Yeah, it hasn't been as difficult as I thought it would be. Mostly slow. People are slow to make decisions, but we're not held up with permitting because we're like a wet well or a pumping station. And I live in a city called Richmond, British Columbia, where we're just right around sea level. I think my house is a couple feet below sea level. So every bit of sewage is pumped in the city. So pumps are already there. We have 4 district energy systems going in to tap into some of these pumping stations. But when you think of a sewer system, I think Chicago is the only system in the world that's all gravity fed to the sewage treatment plant. But most cities, people think it's a turd on a beach blanket with a Mai Tai floating down to the sewage treatment plant. But there's all kinds of pumping stations. There's all kinds of transfer stations. So our infrastructure is really what's already in place.
Got it. Yeah, that's good to hear. That's always the thing I'm concerned about is the especially, these new technologies, right? There's the adoption curve. It's not like you said, nobody wants to be first, or at least very few people want to be first. But once in the US, for example, states like New York and California kind of give it that first push where they're more forward thinking on those things, and it makes it easier for other states to adopt. But obviously, in this case, good to hear that there's not a ton of hoopla to go through to try to get it. But no, that's great. I guess one other major thing that I'm kind of curious about is the supply chain. So I'm curious, obviously the goal here in the future is to get to a circular economy. How much of what you guys source are you really able to source at a very, carbon neutral or very low carbon impact? And what are you able to do to try to encourage those suppliers to help to get to an even, lower impactful supply chain?
Well, Silas, that's a wonderful segue into the real value of what Sharc and its products brings to people, because we recently had to do an embodied carbon count on our Piranha system, and we compared it to rooftop heat pumps and solar panels and stuff. So our embodied carbon on our whole Piranha system is about a 7 month return.
Wow.
So, you look at a solar panel, it's about 8 years, or look at a lot of things. So we've got a very direct return. So the other good thing for the economy is that Congresswoman Capter is we don't hire a bunch of geniuses like yourself that have got PhDs in whatever. We hire people that gets their hands dirty and work to make a living. So we're plumbers, we're welders, we're pipe fitters, and there's lots of those jobs. We're infrastructure kind of jobs. So I'm extremely proud of the fact that we have high-tech controls on a big old piece of steel that some sweaty old plumber has to install. And we create family type of jobs. You go home, you've earned your day's living.
Mhm.
So it really ticks the boxes, and it's locally made. Like, we're not shipping these things hundreds of miles. We're using local companies to do the installation. So it's really I'm really proud of it, that our plan is to create local jobs as well. So you know
Yeah, that's certainly very commendable. I think, again, growing up in northern Wisconsin, a very, I guess you could say, old school type of place. They don't like to adopt new technology that quickly. So it's always been what I've heard is people just concerned that all these new technologies, renewable energy and whatnot, it's just going to lead to job loss. And I think that there's just a big miscommunication as to what's really happening. It sounds like it's very simple to learn how to install these things, same basic principles that plumbers already use. So it's very,
yeah.
very encouraging to hear what you guys are doing. But
Well,
yeah, I think is there anything else that you wanted to add? I think overall this has been a great conversation. I'd be curious to hear if you have any thoughts about what the future, what you're looking for in the future, and everything like that, just in general in the space.
yeah, I'm different, I think, than most people. When most people are kind of worried about what's going to happen in the future. I'm not, because I meet people just like you that give me so much faith in what's going to happen in the future. Like, the new generation care, but you guys, your age group is so bloody smart and so empowered and so driven and connected. You can make change faster than we ever could. So I think the world's in pretty good hands. I'm extremely proud to have brought a technology like this to your age group. But really, you got to pick up the torch and run with it from here. I'm one of these days, I could have a heart attack or fall off step or something. Who knows? But the bottom line is that you've got to pick up the torch to make the difference, and it isn't going to be me doing it. But when I was your age, and I used to travel in the north of Canada up into the Arctic, and to the to Eskimo communities there to put in fish freezers, and I worked for the Hudson Bay Trading Company where we had fur freezers and stuff. So I used to visit communities 40 years ago that don't exist anymore because they're underwater. So I've seen it, and every day I see changes. I didn't think climate change would affect me personally, but it has, and it's affected us all. So you got to pick up the torch, Salas, and do it, and your friends, and I know you will. Like I'm so impressed with the group of talent coming from schools, and I mentor, I don't know, half a dozen or a dozen students a year in engineering classes, and all of them I've had to date are just amazing. Like they want to do it. I'm just totally in love with the new generation of kids.
Well, it's good to hear. I think a lot of people give millennials and Gen Z a lot of crap for not wanting to work hard or whatnot. But I think that it's a big misunderstanding. It's that we'll work hard, but we want to work hard for something that matters, right? We don't want to just work hard just to work hard, right? So I think that's something I've noticed in my generation as well. So I appreciate that. But awesome, Lynn. Well, really appreciate you coming on the podcast. It's been a great episode today, and we'll definitely have to see what you guys do in the future. I'm really excited to see this rollout come. Hopefully someday I can visit a site where it's operating in New York City if there's not already one.
Well, we'll make that happen in the next few months here for you. But thank you so much for your time, and it's always just a real pleasure to talk to you. So take care. Enjoy this beautiful day out here on the West Coast. It's absolutely gorgeous. So
It's actually very nice here in New York City today too. I can't complain. I'm gonna go play some soccer after this. So.
oh, nice. Well,
So.
I gotta finish my yard work now. So
All right, very good, Lynn. Thanks so much. Have a good one.
take care, Silas.
Yep. Bye bye. Hey guys, thanks so much for listening to today's episode with Lynn. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Obviously, pretty powerful stuff that we talked there, especially at the end when we're talking about kind of the passion and the motivation of why we do this and why Lynn has done this. So it's very, very exciting and very inspirational to me, at least. I hope it was to you as well. Definitely do go check out Sharc and learn more about their technology. Encourage, even if you're somebody who doesn't have a large apartment building, or you don't have a position of power where you can kind of implement these things, still take this information and go to your local municipalities, go to people and share it with people. We need to kind of spread the word about this technology so that we can help, again, create a cleaner world where we're using a lot less electricity to do things, and just kind of making a more sustainable life, so that, as we talked about at the end there, our future, our planet will still be here for the future generations. So definitely go learn more there. Also, big news today. Today was the first release of the newsletter, CleanTechies, the newsletter. So if you didn't get on that train, you probably should do that. It's going to be a really great monthly newsletter that I'm working on with my friend, Randy Hill. She's helped me with this. She's very interested in the sustainability space. So we wanted to essentially bring good, high value content to you regarding clean tech and sustainability and what you can do, what's going on in the space, kind of what we're doing with the podcast here. Just in written form with a little bit more detail in certain areas. So definitely go, link in the description, sign up for that newsletter. Again, coming monthly. If you want to get today's newsletter, obviously you missed it already, but feel free to reach out to me. If you'd like, I can forward it to you and get you on the train. Also want to mention, for people who are interested in the space, and you want to meet people, maybe you're looking for a job in the space, whatever it might be, definitely consider joining the CleanTechies Slack channel that we've built for just connecting enthusiasts in the space globally, so that we can all build a better future together and accelerate the pace of innovation. Also, do want to take a break to mention our sponsors, NextWave Partners. As you know, NextWave has made this show possible. NextWave is a renewable energy infrastructure and clean tech recruitment service headquartered out of Singapore, with offices globally that support all major renewable energy development markets. So if you are either looking for a new career in the renewable space, maybe you're looking to enter the space, or you're looking for your company to level up their talent, maybe you have specific needs. Again, I say this every time, but anybody in the clean tech space is going to have to it's going to be a tough search to find the right talent, because a lot of times it doesn't exist with these new technologies. So definitely reach out to NextWave to learn more. You can reach out there at www.next-wavepartners.com. And yeah, I thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode, for always joining us and being loyal to us here. If you enjoyed the content, please do like it. Leave your comments. I'm always curious to hear what you're interested in, what topics you want to hear about. And then also share it with some people that you think might be interested, right? So got to grow this thing. This is not, we're not just doing this for our health. We're doing this for our planet. So help share the news, and we'll see you next week on CleanTechies, the podcast.